All right, guys, and welcome back. We are moving on with this engine. I'll show you a couple things that I've been doing off camera. Of course, I put distributor drive in. You drop it in so that it's going to offset and it goes to the right. And if you do it correctly, when you put your distributor in, which you should put your distributor in right after, because what will happen if you don't put it in, sometimes that distributor drive will lift up a little bit and it'll tear up that brass gear down there. So when you're turning it over and stuff like that, like if you've done it earlier in the game, there's two little washers you got to put down there first, okay? Two of them. And then you put the distributor drive in. And what will happen is if it's not right, or if you don't have a distributor in there or the fuel pump, one of the two, that holds the distributor drive down, so when you turn it over it won't want to lift up, and because if it lifts up, sometimes you'll have it chew up that brass gear. So make sure you put a distributor in it right away after you do it. Even if we used to use a mock-up one, we had one like that, but this is the one that goes in it, so I don't care. The other thing I'm doing now, when you look down here, you see this little grinder mark right there, is because when I put the tin on and mock up your tin, when you do this, that's why I have this thing screwed in so far. Okay, that's why I make them put a lot of threads in there, get it in nice and far, so that it won't hit that tin, and it doesn't. So I'll show you. So you do here, you just kind of put your tin on. I'm using 40 horse tin on this, and it's freaking George out a little bit. But I had to beat this part down a little bit. You don't want it to hit the pulley. That's the main thing. Hopefully when I put my pulley on, it doesn't hit. And so I'm going to put this on, then I'm put the pulley on, crank it, rotate it over a little bit to make sure it doesn't. See, but if you see down there in the bottom, that little thing was standing up a little bit, so I had to grind that off, so that it fits really nice. Because you don't normally have this cover on here. So if you guys noticed, I don't know, I did a short on the engine over at, where was it? It was at the Buses by the Bridge. And CB Performance has a way that they put the plug in here and they tapped somewhere in the side of the case. And I don't know how they did that. So anybody know? Love to see a video or something showing how they did that, because they had an out here and then an in somewhere over here. I don't know where it was over. I'm going to assume that it was right here. But what's weird is that's where the pressure relief piston is. And so how could you have an in and an out in the same place? So they must have put like a plug between them. So had like this one coming up and then put a plug in here, and then had this one over the pressure relief valve, and then have it feed there and then go down, and I don't know. But there were two of them right here. Anyway, I thought it was really cool. I was like, man, if you could do that, you would eliminate this pump cover so you'd have more space in here. You wouldn't have to worry about this. That was a pretty slick deal. If I get over to CB Performance, I'm going to have them show me how to do that, because I think that'd be pretty neat for us to show on video how to put those in there. Get your comments below on that. So again, this one here was all sandblasted. I left it at George's place, so I'm going to go ahead and sandblast this one, and we'll get that one ready. I've already put the cylinder tin on to mock it up to see if the 40 horse back tin will work, and it does on the single port. Guys, I didn't know. Because I don't know if it does on the dual port. If we look at the single port, where they put the hole here is right there. This is 1 and 2, but I'm just showing you. It's a little bit further back, I think, than the dual port is. So anyway, I'm not sure, but I'll have a dual port tin here sitting so I can look. And these ones are slotted, so that's a little thing I noticed. I don't know if they're all slotted like that. I don't remember. But anyway, I don't know. I don't do this stuff every day like I used to. So anyway, it's occasional fun, classic stuff. Not doing it like to make money. That's a hard way to make money. Alright, so I was just sandblasting these stale air boxes that came on this bucket truck up. And this part of the tubing is pretty good, and then it gets really worse as it goes along. And they make these replacement J tubes, and they want like $37 a piece. Well, right over there I've got some steel. I paid $8 for those two. I think I'm just gonna cut this. I mean, this part up here had no pits in it, really cherry, that was inside the heater box. And this part down here that I guess got wet a lot has just really bad rust, and it gets thinner and thinner. And we look at the end, there's not much pipe left. It probably last for a little while, but since I got them apart, I think I'll go ahead and probably cut it off about right here. Then I'll slit cut the other one and put it over it. Then weld it up all the way around and then weld up the seams. That's what I'm thinking. So check it out. As you can see, the metal's really thick up there. It's about the same as this is, right? It's hard to tell. That was trimmed. This isn't, so it's hard to see that. But it's about the same thickness, looks like to me. And then, like I said, it cost me $4 a piece for those two big long tubes. So I'll just do that, and then I'll just clamp it down on there and weld it. All right, this is 1961, 62 only Volkswagen bus heater box stale air. These were made for the 40 horse, but I think they put these on the 1500 as well. That is, if they had the 1562. I'm not sure. I don't think the bug ones had this. I think that was only bus. So it's kind of neat to see something that you just don't see very often. This goes over the bottom, and then this little flap flips up and down and takes the hot air from the engine and then runs it inside. The reason they're called stale air is because it actually uses air from the engine that's gone through the cylinders to cool the engine. Often you got some oil smell that went in your car. They just changed that right after this. Probably from carbon monoxide poisoning issues. Right, it had a 120 main jet in there. That's no good. I'm sure that's too lean. Get that out of there. Good maybe for a 40 horse, but not for... Still think it should have probably been a 125 or 127. I think with the single port, I got a 130 here, so we'll start there and see how that goes. All right, we'll get that in. All right, guys, I know we skipped over a few steps. A couple of them I didn't do were the valve geometry. It's because this one here, because the cylinders were up against there, I used stock push rods. There was no, they were stock. It was stock valve geometry. The only thing I did notice is because I used the reground cam, it was down a little bit further, and it was right at the top of the adjuster, but it still was perfectly stock. There was nothing to do to, didn't have to do cut to fit push rods or any of that stuff. So anyway, so I've been playing around with the exhaust. Here been for a couple days. It just kind of, I'm using this old one here. Maybe somebody will go, oh yeah, go get a new one and everything else. But listen, you know, these things are a couple $100. I don't know how many miles I'm going to put on this thing. Probably, you know, it probably wouldn't pay off to do it. So what I'm going to do is right here, I put these new tubes on, you saw earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and cut right here when I get these things tomorrow. And then I'm going to put two flanges here. So if you know, you can run those little donut clamp things, and you know, if you have a lowered car especially, you're going to find that you're going to be pulling those things off all the time. I don't know, this thing might be a little bit bent, so I checked it though with the apron and the tin on there, and it's got plenty of distance in the back, so I did check that. But I'm going to put a flange on here with gaskets on there, and that eliminates 90% of your exhaust leaks on these things. You end up having all these little ticky noise with those stupid donuts when they don't seal right. I don't think I'm going to get a very good seal because this is a slightly different size. I don't know. I'm not worried about it, but it's a good fix. To do that. I like putting those flanges on. Most of my cars I have those, and it just eliminates all that issue of those stupid. I have no idea why they ever made that. The worst design ever. Of course, I had to butt a piece on here. Probably shouldn't have butted it, but that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to do it twice. So anyway, this goes in further. I'm just going to, you know, bolt that up, mock that up, cut this, and then I'll get this coil on. Carburetor's already got the new jet in it, and we're almost ready to go. Got to finish my pressure relief stuff. I'll do that here in a minute. Then I've got to cut my lines. I think I'll just run them from there, and I'll go underneath. If you see those bolts there, I'll put a little clamp on there in the bottom. This thing has plenty of ground clearance. It wouldn't be good to do that with a, you know, you probably want to run them inside here. Well, you really can't on this, can you? If you're going to use the heater. So you really can't do it on these, but it'd probably be better to run the lines somewhere else. If you run them up over here, then you get close to the exhaust here. It's a pain doing these lines, but the best way to do it is to try and keep them. I'll put, like, I got elbows on here, like 45s, and they'll go down and go underneath where this little hole, there's that factory thing there, and I'll put a little clamp on there. I have these. So I have these here, license plate things. You get these online. I just can buy a bag of them. So I'll just put those on. Somehow I'll bend it. I'll put it on there, clamp it down, and then bend them up so they're out of the way, so they won't be dragging. So, you know, I don't want to hit the oil ends on the ground, but it's really, this thing has plenty of ground clearance, so we're not going to worry about that. All right, so here's how I had the oil line set up. I ran them down, of course, down underneath here. I finally, that's how I ended up right there with the oil line coming down, coming back up right here. Stays away from the exhaust because it's way over here and goes through 2 holes in the tin, and then ends up being on the side here. And then where I'm going to place it, so I'm going to have the oil filter spin on somewhere over here. I'm not sure where. And then the cooler is going to be right here, and I'm going to have it perched taller on this end and shorter over there. I won't be able to get a screw in it up there, so I'll just use silicone to hold the ends down. And then these ones here, I'll put a screw and a nut going through the other end maybe. And I'll put make some aluminum or steel brackets to hold it up higher. So it'll be, you know, it'll have a good 2 or 3 inches, and it'll be close to that vent there. So should get plenty of air going down the road. Should be fine. I usually will put them underneath, but jacking this thing up and getting underneath it, you can only get it up so high, and it's really kind of hard to work on under here with that lift on it. So usually we've done them before. We usually will just put them right in this area, and you know, somewhere in here. A lot of times we'll put them right on that part where it kind of goes down an angle. Depends on whether you're running your here stuff. So we'll put them right in here in this area, and we've had the really good, there's a lot of air under here, so it's really actually good, probably better to put it over here, but it's actually a little more difficult for me since I've got to get under there and do all that there. So it's just easier if it's right here. And the air cleaner goes like right over here, so it's going to be kind of hiding it a little bit. So it'll be there, you'll see it, but it'll be a lot easier for me to do there. So that's what I'm going for. So I got the generator all hooked up and everything ready to go here. I got, you know, the generator on, stands on, all the parts are on. Somebody asked in the other video, did I port the heads? The heads, yes, I did port the heads. I always like to port the single ports, the exhaust only. The exhaust has a really hard corner that has to go around, and if you just reshape that a little bit, get a lot more power. Well, what this one's going to do is this one's going to go into this like expansion chamber, and it comes out that really small tube. So even being ported, it's still going to help it flow better into that. And then once it goes into here, it'll create some sort of back pressure, of course, and really it'll come out of this exhaust very quick, you know, very high velocity. So that'll give you a lot of torque. So, and that's what we're going for. We're not going for speed in this thing at all. So anyway, I don't know if I had any other questions that I was going to answer in this. A couple of people had some things they were asking. The valve geometry, again, that was stock, because we checked it and it was perfect with stock push rods. You didn't need to do cut to fits. The things to know, that's the things that are nice about doing the 74. If you use the short rods, it ends up being very close to the original width of the engine, and that's why we wanted that with this one, because we've already got, I mean, we're a 1/4 inch wider than than stock maybe, or more. So it's going to be tight fit to go in that bus. It's very tight already. So anyway, and this is what the flanges look like installed. Yeah, I know my welds got a little out of control right there, didn't they? I don't know what happened, but over here it's pretty good. I actually was tacking it and I kept missing. I missed the spot, but I got a really good weld around here. What I did on this is I was trying to weld it here, and then I went to the inside and welded it around the inside because it was just, and then ground it down nice and flat. But it was just too hard welding this angle, and I couldn't get it very clean. That's what I was doing there. So anyway, and all my bolts, all my nuts, if you realize, a lot of these ones, we used to have the original nuts that were on here, on here, all here and here. I use high temp RTV silicone. I use the one by Versachem Mega Black, and I put that on all the threads. So then they don't back out. If you've noticed, a lot of times when you put your exhaust nuts on, the exhaust nuts will back out. So anyway, somebody asked a question about the bearings when I put the bearings on, and they said that you shouldn't remove that coating that's on there. There's two different types of coatings that they put on the bearings, and we think that's like a mold release that they put on there. It's not really a zinc coating, but they also have on the race bearings for the 2,000 horsepower engine Audi. They specifically buy bearings that have a coating on them, and those are different. So a lot of people say you shouldn't take that coating off. Well, on the Audi bearings, no, we shouldn't take those off. It's you pay extra to have it put on there. But on those bearings, what I've looked up, and this we've done it, I've been doing it that way for years. I mean, you could probably do it without it, but we ran into is, if we left that coating on there, we ended up with a real thick syrup on the bottom of the engine from that coating. It would be like in the middle, and it's sticky, and we didn't like that being there. It's not, as far as I know, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it's not zinc. People say it's a zinc coating, and I don't think it is. It's not. It's actually, I think it's something that they do to get them to release from the molds or something like that when they make them. And I've always been told from, like I said, there's two different coatings. They have some that they put on there that is specifically designed for better slippage, and it's like a zinc. But the stuff on the VW bearings, as far as I know, is like not that kind of thing. So anyway, that's why we remove it. And you'll look at, there's forums. I mean, I can post a couple things on that if you guys want to see. I think Hemmings magazine has a whole forum on that, and I'd say almost 80% of the people that I looked at all removed the zinc, or remove that coating. It's not zinc. So anyway, it's not zinc for sure. I looked that up. It's actually something else. And we believe it's from the mold release, to get it to release from the molds. So I always remove it. I mean, guys don't, and it's fine either way. So I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. I said that's how we do it. And some people will find that might see that that's wrong. I don't think it's a zinc coating. Not the ones that we're getting. The one for the race engine, specifically, I don't know what it's called, but he has them done that way. He has the coating put on the bearings, and it costs extra. Okay, so if you're reading forums, and you might read two different things, you might see some guys will say to leave that on there because it's that coating. Well, that might be the other coating. But what's on the VW bearings, from what I know, is not zinc, and it's just a coating that's on from the mold, probably from the mold, to get it to release. That's just my opinion. Anyway, that's what I think on that. But again, you could do it your own way. We don't have any issue. You can do it by leaving that coating on them, and guys have done it. But again, the reason we started doing that years ago is because that stuff would end up on the drain plate, and it was like a thick, sticky stuff. And if that ended up in your oil galleries, it's just, to me, it's more risk of issues. So anyway, I'll talk to you in the next one. Anyway, that's it for the video for this. We'll be doing the Will It Run next, and it's all together now. And the video is already done for that. So I'll tell you right now, I had to do them separate because I was going to put these two together and it was just going to be too long. And there's some definite issues. You guys want to see it. I'll talk to you in the next one.